Airbender are not bad by any means. In fact, when compared to most other animated shows, they're pretty solid. Episodes such as The Southern Air Temple, The Waterbending Scroll, and The Winter Solstice two-parter lay essential bricks in the show's foundation, building the world, deepening the characters, and quietly setting up a much larger story. However, when compared to what Avatar The Last Airbender would eventually become, the first half of Book 1 does have its shortcomings. There's an overtly Adventure of the Week vibe running through these early episodes, light, breezy side quests that, while charming and often laying important groundwork, still feel a little juvenile. And of course, this makes sense. Avatar originally aired on Nickelodeon and was aimed primarily at kids. But while there's still undoubtedly heart in these episodes, there's just not always a ton of weight. And this is especially true when you look at the two episodes that immediately precede the storm, Jet and The Great Divide. Now, look, I wouldn't go as far as to call an episode like Jet bad. It's an interesting enough character piece, which does a decent job at teasing some of the moral grey areas the show will explore with much more depth and nuance later on. However, when you step back and look at the plot, a group of ragtag teenagers launching guerrilla strikes against entire Fire Nation battalions, it does all feel...
Alright guys, welcome back to Amiloko. Today we're going to be looking at the Bishop and the Pawns, the games. So a bishop is worth 3 points, each pawn is worth 1 point, hence why there's 3 pawns on the board. We have them in place and they move diagonally, bishops that is, they can move diagonally in any direction. So as you can see, it goes from E2, D3, C4, B5, A6 to G2, H3. We have the pawns in a position where if the bishop was to move to A6, the B7 pawn could capture it on A6. Bishops are one of my favorite chess pieces, especially growing up when I was like first starting to play comprehensively by my current standards. Comprehensive being understanding enough moves and the pieces enough to checkmate. Yeah, obviously they take their name from the hats that bishops wear. I forgot what they're called. Let's go on the internet. You know, like that which you know who, you know which world leader made an AI image of himself in, but trick, trick, tip, hint, this one here. But yeah, they're called mitres, beautiful mitres. Yeah, it's interesting. This is just a bit of a musing that I'm having. As much as they are, the word that I would use is commemorated with holiness, so to say, if that makes sense. They're associated with holiness. It's the case where, in actuality, I think the way the bishop moves, it's testament to the subtlety that ministers can use at times. On the one hand, it can be very seem a bit wily, but on the other hand, it can seem quite prudent. But there's a grace to it regardless. So yeah, let's start going. Yep. And this is going to be the final move. Game over, white wins. We will switch to variant B now. So you've got the two bishops on the board. They start in C1 and F1 and F8 and C8. Ooh, that's an interesting capture now. And this is a win for white. So we'll leave it at that.